It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome back to the Talk Center. This segment, time to move on to new issues. Our last two segments, we had Sheriff Benny Napoleon with us. We talked about the upcoming election, his vision for the city of Detroit. I want to move off politics, and I want to move into this segment into a little bit of financial crisis stuff. And I want to do a case study.
Those are not mutually exclusive topics, are they?
No, they're not. They're certainly not. But I want to bring it home rather than governmental problems. I want to do a case study and focus on an individual and really take a segment to develop a specific situation and look at it. And I thought I would take someone whose situation could either be Detroit or a city like Redford, so that you have a market area where you have a definite decline in property value that has not really done much in the way of bouncing back in the midst of the last year, which has seen good increase in property values in some of the suburbs, but not particularly for the city of Detroit or for like a community like Redford, similarly Pontiac. So Jeff and Sandy are going to be our fictitious homeowners. They own a home in Redford, Michigan. I'll give you the factual background. 2005, fair market value, $165,000.
How many bedrooms?
3-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
Okay, now it's important. Go ahead.
With a 2-car attached garage.
Dog?
It's a nice house. Yes, a dog named Fred.
Kids?
2 kids.
Okay, so we got a family of 4 living in Redford with that has a home in 2005 worth $165,000.
2010, yeah, it's worth $45,000. It took a major hit.
And today?
Today, $55,000.
So Jeff and Sandy are having a real significant reduction in the value of their home.
Yeah, we haven't said whether they're underwater yet because we don't know what the mortgage amount is, but you can sense where I'm going. I should have had our house with the fishbowl with the house underwater for this segment, but I left it at home. I forgot the bowl. Sorry about that. First mortgage, Bank of America, $130,000. Their mortgage payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, a flat $1,400 a month. Trying to make the math a little bit easier for us. Second mortgage, $25,000 to Chase. Payment, $295 a month. So they've got $155,000 in mortgages against a home that's presently worth $55,000. Brian, can you figure out how much dollars they're underwater?
Can I figure out how many dollars they're underwater? I think it's 75,000.
Wrong.
No?
The house is worth $55,000 today.
Yeah.
The first mortgage is $130,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The second is $25,000.
I was just looking at the 130 minus the 55.
If you can help me out a little bit, subtract $55,000 from $155,000 and tell me the number.
100.
That's how far underwater they are.
I wasn't paying attention to the second mortgage.
Why does this feel like the movie Dave?
No, you see.
Good. Let's go to the next one.
But do you know why I wasn't thinking about the second mortgage?
Because you're going to get rid of it.
Because I'm going to get rid of it.
I know where you're going. I had a feeling that was it. $50,000 of credit card debt, paying $1,250 per month. You know how I feel, and you feel, and you feel, how we all feel about credit card debt is cancer. 20% interest on $50,000, $10,000 a year of interest. Insanity. But it's there. It's not unusual. Can't be mad at Jeff and Sandy for having it, but they got to figure out a way of getting rid of it. Gross monthly income today is $4,500 a month. It was $6,000 a month, but Sandy's lost her job. So it's from $6,000 to $4,500.
So they've been hit twice. They've lost the value of their home, and they've lost the income coming in to support the home.
Difficult situation. Now it's
not uncommon. In fact, it's
very
an incredibly very common issue. Sorry, Milt.
Agreed. Milt is David's father, Milton Einstein.
Who doesn't like the word very.
A renowned political operative, no, but he's a terrific CPA and person. He was my first professional employer for 3 months before I quit working for his accounting firm to go to study full-time in law school, but we had a lot of fun. And he hates the word very, and he's always listening, so we very much appreciate the fact that he very often listens to the show. Now, let's go through these very large and limited expenses that Fred, and I don't know what's their names, Sandy and Jeff have.
Thank God there's no windows in here. I'd be jumping.
Fred was the dog. All right, car number one, $300 a month. Car number two, $400 a month. House payment, we already said, is $1,400 on the first mortgage. On the second mortgage, it's $295. Credit cards, $1,250. Utilities, $600. And then let's just food, insurance, everything else, a total of $1,155 for total expenses of $5,400 per month.
It seems to be a little bit of a problem, Ken.
It is a problem.
Because they don't have that much money coming in.
So let's go back to their income. Their gross income is $4,500 a month. Let's assume their taxes, because they're not making very much money at this point, are $500 a month, and their net income is $4,000 a month. Right now they have $4,000 coming in. They've got $5,400 going out. They have a net shortfall per month of $1,400 a month.
And if you look back over the last couple of years, that's probably why their credit cards have increased from maybe 30 to 50 because they've been living off plastic.
Absolutely, and it's all because basically Sandy's lost her job because they went from $6,000 per month to $4,500 a month. So now they're meeting with Brian or they're meeting with me, and we're in the office and we're saying, these are the facts. What are your options? What could we possibly do to solve this problem? Well, and I see a couple options.
There's a lot.
Go ahead,
there are
Brian,
a couple different
lead
options.
us through them.
Well, the first thing you have to do, and we have to figure out, is what do Jeff and Sandy want to do about the house? Because everybody walks in saying, I want to save my house, theoretically. And is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? And there's some possibilities of actually being able to walk away from the debt, keep the house for as long as you want to keep it, and then walk away from it when you don't.
We are on the same page. And I created this case study specifically to put that house in an I don't know situation because it's $100,000 underwater. When's it going to come back? Is it worth keeping? These are difficult issues. And when we come back, we're going to look at this. We could potentially do a Chapter 13 bankruptcy.
Or a Chapter 7.
Or a Chapter 7.
Or a loan modification. Or all
both.
of them.
We'll be back after the break, and we will work through Jeff and Sandy's problem.
I couldn't get out of the car. I couldn't run or exercise. I couldn't work.
Dr. Lewis Radin believes that pain shouldn't have to wait. His Spine Specialist of Michigan is a comprehensive center dedicated to helping you manage pain now. Expect the latest techniques and personalized care. Why suffer another minute?
He's the best. I tell people that he's the one that saved my life.
Make your appointment with Dr. Radin. Call 248-792-9496.
If your house is underwater, please listen to this important message.
The rules have finally changed. We're seeing some great loan modifications with reduced principal, and short sales are easier to get done than people think. The biggest problems I see are people wait too long or they try and do it themselves. There are no second chances.
If you're underwater in your house, call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
No one ever thinks that a serious injury can happen to them, but it can, and it does. And it can happen to you. And when it does, you need a fighter in that courtroom for you. Call me, Ben Johnson. Automobile accident, police misconduct, medical malpractice, product liability. You know what you're up against, how hard it is to get answers. When all you want is justice, call me, Ben Johnson. Whatever your legal crisis, I will fight for you. Call me today.
Do you have tax problems, unfiled returns? Facing levies on wages in your property? You need an expert, not a cartoon character or salesman. Thav Gross is your solution.
You need to look at the big picture. That's what we do. We develop a plan that's right for you.
I had major tax problems. I didn't know what to do.
We did. We sat down together and solved your tax problem.
No more letters, no more phone calls.
They saved me.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
All right, welcome back. We're walking through a case study of a typical couple that has a house underwater. They've got credit card debt. They've got a second mortgage and a first mortgage. We're figuring out what the smart play is for Jeff and Sandy. Before we get back to that, I want to do announcements. We've got seminars coming up. Beyond the current October seminars, there are November seminars, just so people have the dates in mind. Tuesday, November 12th, and Wednesday, November 13th. It's going to be from 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. at our offices in Bingham Farms. And we're also going to have a Saturday seminar, something that we've never done before, and it's going to be right after the show. We're going to have a seminar at 11 o'clock a.m. at our offices, and that's going to be on Saturday, November 16th. I checked, Brian. The Wolverines are at Northwestern that day, so you're not going to be going to the game, so you can be there for the seminar.
I was aware of that. You should have just called me. I know the schedule by heart.
Well, I went on the internet and checked it to find out. So if you're interested in going to the seminar, just so you know, there's always obviously, if you're listening on the radio, you're not going to get a lot out of this, but I'm looking at the screen at the computer, and it has our website up, and all you have to do is go to financialcrisistalkcenter.com. On the screen, it says free seminar. You click here to register for free seminar. It has a spot for you to put in your name and the number of people that want to attend, and then you click that button, and it prints out a ticket to the seminar. So it's a nice, simple way of getting there. I want to thank our sponsors, Fen Johnson Law, Gold Star Law, Samasco Law, Double Action Shooting Range, Spine Specialists of Michigan. New sponsors coming on, Cardiology Associates of Michigan, Dr. Mark Zania, Dr. Michael Castillo, Dr. Nancy Messia, Dr. Muhammad Juma. Great cardiologists over on the east side. They're in Roseville and Shelby Township. And also Elite REO Services, short sale specialists, and actually just brokers in general. Alan Stalter, he's a great real estate guy. We work with Alan frequently on files where we're short selling property. He takes care of the broker side of the transaction. We take care of the legal side of the transaction. But he gets results. He gets buyers. He gets deals done. We get lenders to approve short sales. It's a great combination.
And on top of it, he understands the complexities of doing short sales, which makes him a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, back to our couple.
Jeff and Sandy.
Jeff and Sandy. I'm glad to see you remembered them while you were on your bathroom break.
First thing to go is a short-term memory.
So, Chapter 13 versus Chapter 7. Let's first of all, are they eligible on these numbers for Chapter 13, Brian?
It's going to be a tight squeeze, but yes, we could put them into a Chapter 13 on paper. They'd have about $145 a month to fund a Chapter 13 after we eliminate the credit card debt, which is $1,250.
And what else?
And eliminate the second mortgage through lien stripping.
Okay, what is that?
Okay, lien stripping is the process where through Chapter 13 we can treat your second mortgage as an unsecured debt and pay it as little as 0 cents on the dollar over the 3 to 5 years that you have to be in a bankruptcy. And how that's done is we take a look at what the value of the house is.
All right, the value of this house is $55,000,
which is substantially less than the first mortgage,
which is $130,000.
Therefore, since no equity attaches to the second mortgage, you're going to be able to lien strip in a Chapter 13, assuming you otherwise qualify. This number of $145 a month left over is actually a beautiful number from funding of a Chapter 13 standpoint.
Because it just covers the expenses of the bankruptcy. The creditors get nothing?
Creditors are pretty much going to get nothing, and at the end of the day, you save an extra $25,000 on your mortgage, giving you an opportunity to get closer to parity when you when your house comes back
we
to
got to
value.
backtrack a little bit because you're saying something that's not quite so. $145. So what you're saying in this case is Chase on their second mortgage, that becomes an unsecured debt, and the $50,000 of credit card debt. Let's suppose it's Capital One, Little American Express, Little Bank of America, Little Discover. You're saying they're going to get nothing out of this?
Do you remember?
And you think that's a good? Wait, are you saying that's a beautiful thing? I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Do you remember?
Why do you feel that way?
Do you remember? You're a big movie fan. Do you remember Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
I remember the name, but it wasn't. It's not Remember the
At the-
Titans.
at
It's
the-
not Dave. It's
when-
not one of. It's
I
not one of the
understand.
movies. It's not one of my channel stoppers.
When Charlie is done with the tour,
yes,
and he's taken the gobstopper and he was going to sell it. Gene
Gobstopper.
Wilder's character looks up to him and says, "I'm sorry, you lose. You get nothing." That's what happens to the credit card companies.
We've been doing this show 5 years. I've known you how many years?
17.
17 years. This is the first time I've ever seen you take a role like of a movie character. You must have loved this movie.
I did. Absolutely.
I mean, you used to wear the Snoopy sweatshirt around the office.
I was just thinking about that. But here's what I want to do because I think
they get nothing.
I think
now.
hold on. No, we have to keep it simple.
Okay.
And I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you guys, and here's my question.
Dummy it down
I don't
for us.
care who answers it. The month before the Chapter 13, they were $1,500 in the hole, plus or minus.
Every month.
Every month. Okay? I come, I see Brian, I meet with him, I pull the plug, my wife and I decide we're going to take a chance on this Chapter 13. On a going forward basis, where are they at the end of the month?
Now they're even.
They're breaking even.
They're breaking even. Their $4,500 a month is covering the cost of the mortgage, the first mortgage, the 2 car payments, the utilities, their food, and their other expenses.
And that is supposed to continue for how long?
Well, in this case, it depends on whether they're above or below median income. By their income, this family is below median income. So they would only have to be in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy for a minimum of 3 years.
Oh, so they wouldn't even have to be in this situation for 5.
They could be in it for 5 years depending on how funding was needed. But let's call it 3 to 5 years. And if you're above medium, you're going to have to be in it for 5. We'll come back after the break and we'll talk more about other opportunities.
I want to talk about should they be in a 13 or a 7, and what about a loan modification in this situation? We'll be back after the break.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances in contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Financially strapped? Do you want to save your home?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Double Action, shooting center and gun shop for the largest selection of guns, accessories, and ammunition. Double Action is your only pro gun shop. And now you can train with the best in our basic CCW course with the most comprehensive curriculum, the best resources, and most accomplished staff. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. Double Action is the only place to get your CCW or renewal. Double Action. We're on DeQuinder and Madison Heights.
No one ever thinks that a serious injury can happen to them, but it can and it does. And it can happen to you. And when it does, you need a fighter in that courtroom for you. Call me, Ben Johnson. Automobile accident, police misconduct, medical malpractice, product liability. You know what you're up against, how hard it is to get answers. When all you want is justice, call me, Ben Johnson. Whatever your legal crisis, I will fight for you. Call me today.
Welcome back. All right, so we're working through Jeff and Sandy. We've identified the fact that in a Chapter 13, we would eliminate $1,545 out of their budget, leaving them $145 plus on a go-forward basis. Now, here's the question. They could also, and Brian, tell me whether you agree, they could also qualify for a Chapter 7.
Absolutely.
Now, in a Chapter 7, they can just immediately file the case, discharge the entire amount of the credit card debt.
And discharge their personal obligations to pay the mortgages.
Both mortgages, the
Yes.
first and the second.
You still have to pay them if you want to keep the house.
By making the payments, but you can walk away when you want to walk away and leave the house at any time that you want.
Absolutely correct. As I tell people, you can turn off the lights, shut the door, shut off the gas, and walk out.
Or you can stop paying for a year or so, let it go through the foreclosure process, and then leave and get the benefit of kind of getting your equity out by not making the payments if you know you're going to leave a year down the road.
Absolutely.
Or you could decide to pay the first because the second is not likely to foreclose, and you could even stretch that out longer.
Now, that's the question.
Now we're talking about strategies.
You're talking about strategies. Here's the point: is you're still $100,000 underwater in this house, and if you don't think the market value is going to come back, the benefit of a 7 by discharging the debt means you don't have to worry about the problem of if I ultimately want to leave, I've got the balance due on the mortgage, on the first mortgage.
This set of facts, which is a very common set of facts, is something that I drool over because there's so much of a way to manipulate the system on behalf of Jeff and Sandy.
Could you drool for us?
I could if you want me to. But here, they can come in and do a Chapter 7, discharge all of their obligations, period. Now, the next step is after their Chapter 7 is over, what I want to do with Jeff and Sandy is say, all right, I want to do a loan modification for you. Why? Because even though they're not going to save a whole lot of money.
We've done the Chapter 7.
Right. We've discharged their personal obligations.
Now you're saying do a loan modification.
Right, because there's an opportunity. Their mortgage is with Bank of America. There's an opportunity for principal reduction.
Now I want to say the reason why. Because 31% times their gross monthly income reduces the payment below $1,400
by $5.
By
in this
$5 little
situation.
dollars. That means they're HAMP eligible. We've talked about this before on the show, and under the National Mortgage Settlement, it's not mandatory that you get principal reductions, but if your lender is one of the big 5, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, Citi, GMAC, Ally, Citi, there's a chance that you'll get principal reduction if you're HAMP eligible, which maybe you could actually get the principal reduced down to the $55,000, $60,000 range that the house is actually
You're
worth.
never going to get the principal reduced down to the exact fair market value. You're always going to still owe more after principal reduction on the house than the house is worth, but not by a lot. And that's a key advantage that you have because you file a Chapter 7. Now you do a loan modification, get your principal reduction. If that happens, great. You still got the second mortgage.
Okay, so now I still have this second mortgage to chase for $25,000. If I've modified the mortgage and I've gotten principal reduction, they're not going to be so quick to get rid of that second mortgage.
No, they're not, but I am.
How are you going to get rid of it?
I'm going to do a Chapter 13.
Well, if I got principal reduction, what can you do then?
Well, remember, the house is still technically underwater. Maybe by $1. Maybe by $5,000 you owe.
Because even if they've reduced it to $60,000 and
the
it's
house
only
is
worth
still only worth
$55,000. Good point.
So now what I do is I come back in and put the client into that same Chapter 13 at $145 a month.
The same budget.
3 years. Was it $8,750? I think, or something like that.
That was actually over 60 months.
Oh, you're
so
okay.
It's gonna be less.
So, and in 3 years to 5 years. Depending on whether they're above or below median income.
The second mortgage is gone.
The second mortgage is gone. And now you've got a house that's at parity. The house is worth what you owe or more by the end of that's Chapter 13. The second mortgage is gone. It's been stripped off. Your personal liability doesn't exist on any of the debt. And so you can keep the house, sell the house, walk away from the house. You have all the choices.
Now let's go back to Dave. I was going to go back to you. I want to summarize that. But if you're going to do that, you can summarize it.
This is...
You need to summarize.
You just hit the key. And the summary is CERTA.
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 Like Sealy Posturepedic, CERTA. This is
right, because you're able to sleep at night, and here's why.
Oh, it is like a bed.
It is like a bed. That's good.
I thought it was an acronym for something.
Before you implemented any strategies, you were being controlled by the credit card companies, telling you how much you have to give them every month. You were being controlled by your first lender, your second lender, and all of those other little obligations that you are under. Now, you, by taking advantage of a Chapter 7, by being able to sit back and wait to see what happens, by being able to do if you desire a loan modification, by being able to go into a 13 at the end of the day, you are in complete control, and you are able to tell the credit card company what they're going to get. It may be 0. You're able to tell the second mortgage company you may get 0, and you are able to sleep at night because you're living, you're breathing, you're able to play with the dog, you're able to see your kids, and you're able to absolutely
what was the dog's
prosper.
Name?
Fred.
Very good.
And let's not forget.
And there's a psychological aspect to this.
And let's not forget the one really important thing is that by acting now, Jeff and Sandy have taken an opportunity to utilize all of their opportunities. As
Sandy gets another job,
Sandy gets another job. That opportunity to file a Chapter 7 might eliminate.
Income goes up.
All right. Well, let's hear the quote. Let's hear the quote.
If not now, when?
Okay, and that was?
That's a Robert Kennedy. Okay. Well, actually, technically, that's a quote attributed to Robert Kennedy, but it wasn't his quote. I've read that many times. I don't know whose quote it was. I want to summarize, though. At the end of the day, here's where Jeff and Sandy started out. They were $1,400 per month excess expenses over what their income was. They were $100,000 underwater in the house. At the end of the day, if what you're saying works, Brian, with the Chapter 7, the loan mod, the Chapter 13, they're $145 ahead per month, and now they owe $60,000 on a house that's worth $55,000. They can keep the house, and they can still walk away whenever they want.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Financial Crisis Talk Center. We've run out of time. We will be back next week. Have a great week.